stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This being the first meeting of the year, I will call for nominations for President of Council.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Alan Dunn. Till you get this thing right. We're just going to keep going with you.
Second.
Okay, I have Jeff with the first, Joe with the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Oh, aye.
5-0, Alan abstains.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you for the confidence.
Yeah.
We'll now move to nominations for the position of Vice President.
I'd like to make a nomination for Jeff Chenoweth to be our vice president.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Carol and a second by Joe for Jeff to be in the position of Vice President. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0 with Jeff abstaining.
Very good, thank you.
Okay. All right, so with that administrative task out of the way, I guess before we get started, you'll notice that those of you that attend the meetings on a regular basis, the table looks a little different up here. We've shifted some seats around and we have a new member, so I wanted to welcome Mary King on board for her first meeting here, taking the position formerly held by Clark Beard. So
Thank you.
congratulations, Mary, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay. First up, approval of meeting minutes. We had two meetings in December, the regular meeting on the 12th and the cleanup meeting on the 27th. Jeff, did you have a chance to review
Yes,
those?
I looked at both of those, Alan, and I didn't see any corrections or anything to add, so with both minutes, I would approve.
Let's do them separately because I
Okay.
know I was not there for the 27th meeting, so just in order
Okay,
to
so the
keep
regular
that-
council meeting was the 12th. I'd make a motion that we'd accept the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Joe to accept the December 12th meeting minutes. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0 with Mary abstaining. And then for the
And then for the
27th.
27th, for the year end, the same thing. I didn't find any additions or corrections, so I would make a motion to pass.
Okay. A motion to approve by Jeff. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Todd. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 4-0 with Alan and Mary abstaining. All right. Community Corrections Report. Brett Barton.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This morning, we have 80 individuals on our program. We don't have anybody on CTP. We have 2 juveniles and 4 on pretrial release. We do have a new program manager at DOC. They did some realignment at the first of the year, so I'm looking forward to meet her, Cayenne White. So should meet her in the next 30 days, I hope. Believe it or not, we start the grant process for calendar year 25 next month.
Wow.
Yeah. That's really all I have today. Any questions on anything?
No questions? All right.
All right.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
And then also probation. I think I saw Nancy. Nancy's here. Nancy Ward.
Well, we closed out the year with a couple juveniles in detention. One, I think, at least one of them's on the electronic monitor. I think he's a 12-year-old, but he was misbehaving and a little bit of combative, and he might have urinated on 3 nurses in the ER, so he ended up in detention. And the other one was a young lady that beat the heck out of a DCS worker, so she ended up in detention for a few days. She'll end up in a mental health placement through DCS. So our ending total for the year was $6,175 for detention for the year. Delaware County notified us that their detention per diem will be going up to $195. So that's a pretty big jump from $179. We'll use Kinsey whenever we can. I think they were $145.
Okay.
Well, 147, so just depends on who has availability. I think Delaware only takes males. Kinsey, they took our female. I was also going to ask permission to hire a part-timer for admin. In November, I lost a full-timer for our admin, and we don't need another full-timer. I was thinking a part-timer. I have a young woman that's interested, and she's bilingual. So that's paid out of our user fees.
Do you have a part-time line item already in that budget?
Yes.
Okay, then I don't know that you need anything
Okay.
from us if you already have the line item.
Yep, it's already filled.
Okay.
Has plenty of money in it.
Need to go to the commissioners? Okay. So the money's in place for the actual hiring and firing
Okay.
approval, you go to the commissioners.
Probably be February. Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Yep. Thanks, Jordan. Okay, moving on to new business, we have a few items, beginning with one that's kind of a cleanup of, we discussed last month, and that is the actual approval of the Recorder's Perpetuation Fund ordinance. In the past, that had been simply an affidavit. Now it has moved to the point of needing to pass an ordinance, and this is the sign-off between the agreement, the official agreement between the Recorder's Office and the council on the funding that will be taken from the Perpetuation Fund for 2024. So that is for this year, ordinance number 2024-01. Anybody have any questions on that? We've covered that a couple of times, so I think we're all up to speed on it, but anybody have any need for clarification?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, so Carol has a motion to approve County Ordinance 2024-01. That's, I'll just for the record, an ordinance of the Clinton County Council of the State of Indiana for the payment of Recorder's Office expenses and salaries from Recorder's Perpetuation Fund. Do I have a second? Second by Mary. Any other questions or comments before we vote? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Next up, Resolution 2024-01, a resolution of the Clinton County Council approving statement of benefits and confirming designation of economic revitalization area. Those of you were with us last month will remember we had originally on our agenda a discussion of an abatement request from Co-Alliance. We ended up pulling that off the agenda because we had to get some more ducks in a row before we were ready to consider that. One of those was to get drafted a resolution creating an economic development or economic revitalization area, which is the prerequisite for getting an abatement in Indiana. So you have that resolution here today, but we have Ryan Satchel with Co-Alliance with us here today, and I asked Ryan to come today and just to spend a few minutes talking about the project that is encompassed in this request. And so Ryan, I'll give you the floor and feel free to tell us a little bit about what's happening in Circleville.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity. And kind of wanted to share with you guys a little bit about our long-term goal and what our strategy is. As we look as a company to try and reinvest our money, we're looking at counties that are strong and supporting of ag. Because that helps direct us on what we're trying to achieve. So today we've got 8 locations in the county, in Clinton County. We've got 52 full-time employees at those locations. And today we've actually invested about $2.5 million into those 8 locations already. But what we're really looking at here today is our long-term strategy. And that's what we're here as far as this economic development, trying to understand if this is a partnership that we can do and to move forward. It helps guide us in our decisions on how we can do that. So we're looking at an $8 million investment. That's going to be into our central dry hub, fertilizer hub. And that's going to allow us to support our local members and our growers and how we can get the right, the 4 nutrients, right time in the right place. And so by having those extra 3 bins in our dry facility, it's going to allow us to get the right source of nutrients to the farmers at the right time. In that process, when we look at what the impact is for our members as far as our growers go, we have about 346 farm members in Clinton County. Last year, we provided about 2.8 back in patronage, and so that allows them to come back and reinvest into those counties as well. And so really what our goal here is today is to ask for a tax abatement to allow us to look at our long-term strategy to continue to grow and invest into Clinton County.
So if you look, there's a couple of exhibits to the actual resolution itself. One is a detailed breakdown of the budget for the project. Another is the location of the project at Circleville. And then the last one, Exhibit C, is an actual schedule of abatement, which is for 5 years, 25% per year abatement request or schedule. So what we do here, the process for approving an abatement is that we would today approve an economic revitalization area with those exhibits attached. Then upon approval, we would notify the public of the approval of that designation. That starts a 30-day window that gives the public notice. They can then come back in February if anybody wants to comment, object, support, anything, that they can come speak to the council in February, and we would do the final vote that would actually approve the abatement at the February meeting. So it's a two-step process on any time you grant an abatement. So for today, we need to consider the Resolution 2024-01, the first step designating the area as an economic revitalization area. Any questions for Ryan or about the project?
Ryan, so we talked a little bit out in the hallway, and I think we all know of your company, for ag and the farming community. Can you speak a little bit more of your philanthropic ideas and thoughts for corporation-wise partnering? It's great to hear that you're looking to partner, and I think that we're going to show that. But
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk a little bit more about that?
I'd be happy to. So it's very important that the giving back is part of our business. We take a lot of pride in that, and we really focus on it, making sure it's directed appropriately. This last year, we gave $17,000 back to 4-H and FFA, just because we look at the long-term investment of bringing up that agriculture, that community. So investing back into the community, being part of that community, is very important to us.
Very good.
And you do scholarships as well, if I remember correctly.
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
Very good. That's fine.
Okay. All right, with that being said, do I have a motion for approval of the ERA?
I make a motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Jeff to approve the Economic Revitalization Area designation. Do I have a second?
Second.
I think I've got Joe with the second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Ryan, thank you for the time to come in today. I appreciate it very much.
I would just say it's nice to help out the ag area of our county. So,
We appreciate it, and I can tell you it's been a very good experience. Going through this process.
Very good.
appreciate it.
Okay, next up, ordinance, well, this says 2024-03, Janet, is that correct?
Because I had already numbered.
For the additionals? Okay, great. So 2024-03, an ordinance adopting County of Clinton, Indiana job descriptions. So this is sort of the first step from the council side with the implementation of the new job classification system and the eventual implementation of the salary survey information that we received in November. So I believe the commissioners have already taken this action to approve the job description, so we're more or less ratifying or turning the second key to put those in place, and then that will become the foundation for the new job classification system that we will formally approve in February. So that'll be step 2. And then once that's in place, we'll start to work on the salary review, the survey review, and we'll likely have 2 to 3 work sessions that we will really dig into those numbers, look at both the salary component of it and then also our revenue component of it to see how we can get those two to match. And then we'll provide that guidance to the department heads prior to their June creation of their departmental budgets. So in the past, we've often said we give guidance of, some percentage raise. This year it's going to be a little different. This year it'll be the results of the salary survey, and we'll say here, this is what we're thinking after getting those survey results. I will let the department heads know that the results that we got in November were 2023 surveys, and we are going to get those updated to include 2024 information. So the numbers will be different than what was in the initial report that we saw, but that's to everybody's benefit that we have the most current information that we have. So first step is to approve the job descriptions. I had Janet send you a sample job description for her actual position so that you could see what they were all like. I want to commend Jordan and the commissioners and Janet and Britt and Cecily. They worked really hard with Wagner, Irwin, and Shield to come up with all of these job descriptions. So there's not a lot of work for us to do other than to approve. So with that being said, I'd entertain a motion on ordinance 2024-03. Unless anybody has any questions or wants to discuss further any of that process.
Motion to approve.
Okay, a motion by Jeff to approve those job ordinances. Do I have a second?
Second.
Joe with the second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. That motion carries 6-0. So next up, I didn't want to send too many documents this week for this meeting, but you'll receive from me a copy of the implementation documents that we'll need to put the job classification system in place as policy, and we'll do that in February. So be looking at that, have a chance to review. If you've got any questions, I want to make sure you have plenty of time to either get with me or we can forward that on to Wagner Irwin and get answers to questions prior to February. Okay, next up, the Iron Block renovation funding request. We've got Shan here today. I'll have Shan, if you'll go to the podium for me, please, and I'll turn the floor over to you. I did send your PowerPoint. The PowerPoint presentation did go to everybody.
I've got a copy too, if you want one, just to browse through. Please.
I can pass them down if you
That'd
want.
be great,
Okay.
thank you. I think you got one for Jim.
Yeah, I've got one too.
No,
Oops, I grabbed an extra one.
no, that's for us.
Okay.
You got yours already, just get a copy of them.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Good to see you, Sheila.
Well, thank you, Alan. Thank you for council for the opportunity. We reached out to the council probably about a year ago or so, and everybody was after the ARPA money. I think everybody was looking for opportunity to see how that could be used. Of course, in our scenario, as the Iron Block has been a real blessing for us as the chamber. In your letter, I think everyone received a letter that I submitted to the council back in December, kind of giving you a snapshot of where we have been from a chamber perspective. We'll be celebrating 115 years next year. And I look back at all of the incredible things that we have seen happen in our community just in the time that I have been around for about the last 22 years. And some of you have actually served on the chamber board, and some of you have been involved in economic development discussions for sure. We're fortunate to be able to do that work in our community, in our county. It's great to see Mary here. We've worked a lot together on projects in Kirkland, and to see the growth that's happened in Kirkland with Ryan being able to share this morning. We was a first stop that he came to our office and talking about the possibility of abatement and giving his vision of what they want to do with Co-Alliance. And it's really kind of what we do from a chamber and economic development standpoint. But the Iron Block is a little bit different scenario because we thought the need was there to create a co-working space, a place for entrepreneurship, a place for people to grow their idea and their business ideas. Right now, we have just 20 members that are using the facility on a regular basis. That's a 24/7 access card that they have. Membership is relatively reasonable, $75 as a professional. We do have 2 attorneys that utilize the facilities. We have insurance groups and real estate folks, but we also have folks that are just trying to get their idea, and those are $45 a month. So we're not trying to get rich, but we also know that the opportunity for growth is there with that 4,500 square feet of space that's on the second floor that just, believe me, we've taken many, many tours, and I'm sure many of you have already been up there, the opportunity to do something with that. Of course, we're always hearing, well, you need an elevator, you got to have an elevator every time we talk to the state and all of those things, and the fire department and a variety of folks that are in official capacity that believe that for us to do the business of what we try to do. And that's what the request is today. That elevator is about, we just got a cost of about $125,000. We're requesting $100,000 to help us get this elevator up, and no pun intended, but and an operational because we do believe that there is great, we'll have the opportunity for about 11 different office spaces upstairs, including additional co-working space. We are also working with other organizations. Right now we do 2 recovery groups a week that meet at our chamber office, one on a Saturday, one on a Wednesday. We have multiple groups that come in that meet, that just need a place, that are non-for-profit, that we just say, yeah, sure, use the conference room, because that's the part of the community partnership. Last year, we raised $15,000 through our cookie sales for nonprofits all through the community and the chamber for our annual golf outing. We have never taken that money. Normally, that money goes back towards a program, whether it be the YMCA, Ivy Tech. We've had other projects, Boys and Girls Club. We've had other projects that we have given money to over the years out of our fundraising. So the opportunity for us to see this second floor happen is just really the potential that we have to grow more entrepreneurship mindsets and be able to grow business and really create that space. The one thing that we're really excited about and how we have been able to focus this with the state is using that conference training center that will sit about 40 people. And we've talked to our school corporations about the opportunity of bringing folks working with Ivy Tech, bringing folks downtown, and then bringing our industrial leaders, whether it be plant managers, HR people, maintenance directors, whatever the case may be, having those meetings with those kids downtown at that conference center. And of course, originally before the annex was being looked at, we were talking to the county to utilize the conference room as an opportunity for meetings and space, and that's absolutely, that's what we want. We want it used. It's used. I think this is probably one of the most used building. We have cameras in there, and there's people in there literally at 11 o'clock at night. So I will digress. I did bring Wanda today. Wanda Mitchell is our president of the chamber. She's been our president for the last 2 years. She's been on the board for several years. Actually, this is her second or third tour of duty. She was there 30 years ago when you started with the chamber. So if you want to add anything, Wanda, or if you have any questions for us. So.
Have anything to add? And I'll just say that most of you are aware of just the potential on that. And we talked about in the chamber about just having the ability to mostly bring downtown, like downtown. We have leadership meetings monthly or quarterly. To have those people come downtown, they're going to leave there and have lunch. We get to experience downtown in a different way. And I assure you, some of those are fairly overlooked. They drive off the interstate. They take the building and they go back home. I think any opportunity to have to do that. And then also, like Jim said, just on the bottom, we have a waiting list. And I'm sure that could even grow if we tried to promote it more. We don't promote the entrepreneurial space simply because we don't have the space right now. So I think the potential is there. It's economic development. Super excited about it. Done in my 2 year. We're almost there, just not quite. So anyway, ask for your full support on
And the good news is that we are, we have saved money back so that we have a loan that we're finishing up with the Farmers Bank, but we have saved some funds back. So we believe with this help with the elevator that we have our state design release from the state on the building. We have a lot of things in motion, so this is something that is not going to be pie in the sky. It's something that will happen this year with this kind of funding. So one other thing that I would just remind folks, Frankfort Main Street is rent-free at our space. Sharp is there as well. Tom Jameson uses space there for the Sharp program, and we welcome any and every one that needs a place, a conference room or space. That's what we're there for. So anybody that wants to utilize the space. So I'll entertain any questions.
Can you take a minute and just kind of work through the project budget?
Yeah.
The scale of the overall project and.
Yeah, so
Put this ask in context, I
well,
guess.
the original project, when we bought the building in 2016, and the genesis for all of this really is in your letter that I shared with you regarding the history of the chamber, that we never really owned anything until 2010, and we bought the old Cope Stick building. And then the county was very interested in that as for probation. So we worked with the county to sell that back to the county. We used those proceeds and help with the redevelopment commission from Frankfort Redevelopment Commission to do phase one. And Frankfort was extremely and I think Todd may have been on that may have been on that commission at the time, but was very adamant that we would be spending that money on the outside so that it would, that was a pink and black and mauve. The building had all kinds of colors on it and things. So we spent that. But the initial estimate was about 1.137 to do the entire building from inside out. And so we couldn't possibly take that on as a nonprofit, so we decided to take it on kind of like they do the elephant, one bite at a time, phasing it out. So we phased one was the exterior, which we had to put a new roof on, we had to put windows, doors, we had tuck pointing, there was multiple foundational issues. We had an engineer, Andy Schweitzer from Arcor Engineer, went through the building and said that the building, if you don't do something with it in 5 years, it's not going to be here. I mean, it's just one of those scenarios. So we had walls that were pulling out. So that part of that first step was about $380,000. So how this is all going, we've paid that, plus, of course, the purchase of the building. Phase 2 was somewhere around $250,000, which was the interior renovation, which we allowed for some space that we have that's been rented. PES, Professional Education Solutions, rents the backside. We also have the Frankfurt Times is in there now, some insurance space. And we put that space together not only for the co-working space, but for those opportunities for businesses to be able to rent space. That was about $250,000. We ran into some issues with asbestos that we weren't planning on. That was about a $10,000 hiccup, which then. So now that gets us to over $570-some thousand that we have invested in the first phase, 2 phases. The third phase is the most expensive. Mainly driving that is the elevator, and so that comes up to close to $700,000 with the contingency. Of course, you put contingency in there, but so that breaks down basically what where we are as far as the funding. We have put the money that we have put aside, which is around $130,000, and then when you look at hopeful with the addition of the elevator funding, and then we been reallocated the money from Ready on the Career Tech project. That will go $300,000 that will go towards this project based upon the match, and we have to come up with our match, which we have our portion with the elevator. It would get us over the top. So that's where I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but that kind of gives you an idea of where the money's going. So
I guess I wanted to be clear that if,
Yeah.
with this, you'd have complete funding to do
That's
the
right.
project.
Right, yeah. With this, we would be able to get started tomorrow, well, as soon as the bids are all in and done, so. And there's some bids still out, so.
Any questions for Shan or about the project?
No, Ellen, I'd just like to say that I've been involved with the chamber since the Walnut Street,
Yeah,
building.
that's right.
And then the move to Old Stony, and then the Iron Block building. I remember sitting in the Iron Block building amongst the rubble on a cold, Fat Tuesday, I believe, eating a
King cake.
king cake that was sent to Shan from New Orleans. And that's where it all began. And when I was looking at these pictures, Shan, I almost forgot that we made those little stations,
Yeah.
with the tables from the school, and how much we thought that was great, and how far you've come since then.
Yeah.
So I highly,
Been very fortunate. And with people like you, we've greatly been appreciative
and
of all
there's been a
the,
lot of volunteer hours done. in the
yeah, a
building.
lot of volunteers. The board, that first few months was there on a regular basis, doing all kinds of volunteer work.
Commissioner Brewer?
Yes, sir.
How much is the city?
Well, the city contributed initially $180,000 for the phase 1 because they wanted that exterior.
For the elevator? How much are you contributing?
Nothing.
The elevator's only 100.
Two thoughts for council to consider. Some of you are new, but a year and a half ago, council commissioners worked together to recreate the whole process for our nonprofit community organization. Some of you were a part of that. And we put something in place so that this didn't happen where people come and make requests to you, that there was one line item in budget and submitted to commissioners, at which we made selections. And so I'm not saying I'm against this, but this kind of does undermine that whole process, because what has happened is we get more requests than we have funding for, and we end up having to be the bad guy all the time. And I'm more than willing to change that, and you guys can be the bad guy, but then we're gonna send all of the requests to you from now on, rather than going through us. Because it sure seems like this is kind of in that same realm of category of looking into things. And then the second thing is, currently, and maybe Shan can provide it to us, we've been paying the chamber $150,000 to $200,000 a year, but on our end, I can't find a contract. So we need to get something in place.
It's with PIP. I mean, it's a PIP, it's a PIP contract,
Okay,
yeah.
we can't find
Yeah.
it, so do you have it?
Yep, yep, we got the contract.
Love to get that, so that we can start doing that annually, and make sure that just everything's in line with what we're doing. We've done this with all our contracts, and we're kind of getting down to the last few. So I think before you make that vote, those are just some things to consider, to have some more consistency.
With regard to the first point about the
Nonprofits.
the nonprofits, I guess I would make a one distinction, at least my understanding of that funding line item was that was more or less a social services line item, a programming services line item, whereas this would be a capital ask, a capital project ask. So I would view them as slightly different. Commissioner Ewitz, you disagree?
I'll only point out that when we funded part of the construction for 180 recovery, that we had an agreement for services put in place because we could not fund a capital expenditure for a nonprofit without having that agreement for service in place.
This is an economic development arm of our community rather than a nonprofit, though. I mean, am I wrong?
Well, that's a good point. I guess I'm not sure whether we're talking about a process situation here or a difference of opinion on whether, of the viability of the request. You know, because what may change then is the nature of the motion that we make.
When you're done.
We could be in support of we could be effectively saying we're in support of adding to that line item that you're referring to,
Yeah.
Jordan,
you
if
wanna
that's,
read what
if
the
that's what you feel like needs to be done.
We went through.
I guess I'm not sure exactly what,
I don't know if that needs to be done, I just think there needs to be more discussion than, this was the first time I'm hearing about it. And it sure seems like with all that we already give, and wanted to reference this, that this brings industry leaders from out in the industrial park to downtown. Well, last time I talked, they call it downtown Frankfurt, not downtown Clinton County. So why are we getting the full request to fund it? Why is there no ask of the city? I guess that's part of my concern with it. And then if it's an economic development tool, then I think in the presentation, it showed something like roughly 60,000 annually is what it could potentially generate in revenue. Why don't we share in any of that revenue to reimburse back for the 100,000? So just some questions.
well, and I guess I'll speak just for me. My assumption would be that eventually we would share in some of that revenue, whether that's in a direct reduction dollar for dollar in what we budget or just avoiding future increases. Because we've been flat for, you know, while the rest of the budget has gone up, that particular ask has been flat for a number of years. I want at least the last 3 years, we've been
Yep.
flat as it's been subsidized by the revenue generated by the facility. So,
And really,
We just lost the only economic development area in Clinton County. It's all economic development for Franklin.
yeah, that's a good point.
And to Jordan's point, we don't know what it is, because it automatically comes out, there's no contract. It says this is what's to be, so there could have been an opportunity to negotiate and increase it. Mine is simply a process issue, because I don't have a problem helping support, you know, it's great. I've used the office a million times, every time I've called over there and asked if I could use it. No questions asked, it's great. So I see the value. To Jordan's point, we are continually, not by you guys, well, just by the way things work. here in Clinton County. Everything lands on our desk last, and we have to. If we have any questions about it at all, or about anything, oftentimes that gets perceived as being a negative person, or just being there to cause trouble, and it's really there to protect the taxpayers. So-
and to your point, Josh, I would just say, and Jordan, I would say, you know, our process, we've not changed
Right.
this has been going on since 1980. So there's a contract with PIP on economic development, and that works with the chamber. So that's been since 1980. So
So let's do this.
I've
Let's-
never
let-
changed
let's
that,
do this.
so-
We can't approve the actual appropriation today. It hasn't been advertised. This is more of a consensus vote that we would support funding the project. So we can give that, we can have that vote, and then we can we can do the additional appropriation and the advertisement correctly after we figure out what's the proper, I guess, roadmap for how to get there. Whether we do it as an additional appropriation to the line item that, the community services line item, I'll call it, or whether we need a contract. I don't know. We can figure that out, I guess. So if all this is a sense of the council vote, then maybe that's what it is. But I guess at this point, I would like to know, put up for a vote, the council's position on whether we feel comfortable supporting, up to $100,000 investment in that building. One thing I guess I would just add is that, and this is not to deal with your process situation, but going back to the need and the desirability of the project as a whole, is that, we just had a large corporation here asking for a tax abatement. We do lots of things for big business. This is the primary tool and the primary avenue that we have to help do something for small business, for that person that's just trying to get started, to help reduce some overhead costs and some fixed expenses. So I look at it as a needed tool, a way to help support a different aspect of our local economy. So I'm very much in favor of figuring out how we get this to work, and I'm perfectly willing to work with the commissioners to figure out the right avenue to get the money there. But my personal opinion is I'm in favor of moving forward with this funding out of the CDIT fund. I think this is classic economic development, a classic economic development use of those monies.
Can I ask one last
Yeah.
question? Are all the contractors going to be Clinton County-based contractors?
The bid's been all over the place, but most of them have come back from Clinton County, but not, that's we have, I'm not in charge of that. That has been, we have a person that is overseeing that. Clinton Taylor, his group is overseeing the construction. We bid it out to several folks, and some folks said it was too big for them, and some folks just said, they were too busy, they couldn't really do that. So Clinton's taken his time to basically look at this as overseeing the project. I know Andrew Harshbarger with Innovate Builders have given us a pretty good bid on doing the interior carpentry and all of that, and all the framing. We've gotten bids from AAA. I'm trying to think of all the local ones.
I guess it just seems counterintuitive if a local business loses out on the opportunity for a business that's out of the community. The whole motto of the chamber, from my knowledge, is promote local business.
Well, I would say that, Jordan, that's true, but at the same time, we have regional folks that are chamber members, that have been chamber members for years. We have folks that are in Lafayette. We have folks that as far away as Fort Wayne.
So they'll all be chamber members?
Oh, yeah, they, that's one of the things that we've asked is that, you want to be a chamber member, and that means you have to participate in what we do here locally in our community. But, yes, they are required to be chamber members. So, and that doesn't mean that they're all in Clinton County. So, but if every supplier and every contractor was from Clinton County that bid, and they were all at the table with the price, I think Wanda would agree, we wouldn't have any problem at all. I mean, that's not an issue for us. It's more about, it comes down to dollars, and,
And that's a challenge. We have a current bid right now that's $15,000
over.
over a local contract. So where do you balance that? And when we went back to them, they're like, well, that's just the best that you do, but you have somebody that's $15,000, I would think that's just not financially responsible to be like, well, we gotta stick with you because of that. So that's been a disappointment and a struggle for us. The other thing, just real quick, I would say, is when you talk about city and county, I mean, first off, I wanna say I respect that comment. There's nothing outside of policy and procedures and things like that, I think that just gets murky all around. But I will also say, I think there's times when you have to go case by case by case. In my opinion, this particular project with the Clinton County Humane Society is a different project. It benefits Frankfurt and the county, regardless. It says Clinton County Humane Society, but I would guarantee the majority of their things come from Frankfurt. I think you have to be careful, and then the biggest thing is what Carol said, and I would get from it. The chamber and the city and the county is all about economic development, and that's 90% of what that is. Like, I really, again, however you term it, however you change it, it's to fund economic development. There's nothing else more that's going in there, entrepreneurship, whether they start a business outside of the Frankfurt city limits or start a business inside. I think we all benefit from that, and I think that's completely different than like a 180 or a different type of organization. That doesn't serve the entire county that way. That's all I'm gonna say, but I do respect the fact that there's policy in place and advise or we need to find.
I think 180 is serve the entire county.
No, I know they do, they serve anybody and everybody, but what I'm saying is that's a different form of nonprofit.
Yeah, that's valid. I agree with that. I think it feels like we fund the economic development in Frankfurt gets the benefit from it. And so if it's truly a partnership, it feels like there needs to be more financial partnership. Just in my opinion.
And hey, and you won't get any disagreement from me. I mean,
Yeah, and I'm
I
not saying I'm against the project.
I spend probably 75% of my time in the industrial park, if not more. Sitting meeting, I mean, Ryan, you know, we had several good meetings. I introduced him to Alan, and we moved towards on the abatement project. That's more of a county project. I will say that we spent a lot of time in Kirkland, working in Kirkland, and also Chad Colby just was calling me while I was in this meeting, trying to work on an infrastructure project. So it's not just Frankfurt. We do try to work with these other smaller towns, and
I know what you do.
you know, I'm not, this is not defense. I'm just saying,
That's
I
right.
totally agree with Wanda, the process, and we can get, and that can be figured out. Because I think we all had this conversation one time that maybe we should be changing the way the process is anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm all for that.
It just feels like this is the time to do it.
Yeah, I'm total agreement. We're just in a scenario is that we have the opportunity. The only reason that I'm even here for an ask is mainly because those extra dollars that came in from ARPA, which I understand was there. We wouldn't be coming, we normally give back, in fact, I just checked, we're gonna be giving back $7,800 back out of our budget. We average about $10,000 that come back from our budget every year. So we don't spend our full budget, and we don't try to spend it. We use it, because that's how we've done the reimbursement. The way we've done things is we send you a reimbursement every month based upon all of our receipts, and that's how we give back. And that's how we get reimbursed.
You know, Shan, you bring up a point that maybe helps us address this issue. I had been thinking of this expenditure coming from the CEDAT funds. But maybe it makes more sense to come out of the ARPA money because that guarantees a two-step process.
And that was my understanding, so I didn't realize about the CETA, so that's my understanding.
That we approve the funding, you have to amend the ordinance before that. Would that be agreeable to you guys as maybe the best way to handle this particular unique situation? 'Cause-
Direction you wanna go, I mean,
But that guarantees,
Your guys' daily with it, we don't want it.
well, but it requires the sign off of both parties, you know, by process. And so maybe that helps streamline this situation. If that's agreeable to you, I would amend my recommendation and say we have $250,000 of unallocated ARPA money. And when we vote to appropriate it, it then goes to the commissioners. They have to amend the ARPA ordinance to designate how that money is going to be spent. We have to have in the ordinance how every dollar gets spent. So it would guarantee that two-step sign-off.
Which,
agreeable.
Okay.
and to the point of the ARPA money, we stayed open during COVID. We didn't shut down, so we had people coming during the COVID time because they needed to keep they didn't.
I'll go ahead
they
and make
needed
the
a place
motion
to
with the
go.
official
So,
appropriation.
I don't know if that helps the narrative with the ARP money, but we didn't close, so.
I-
Economic development's for the as part of.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would like,
just want to say, council, Wanda, Jan, thank you for letting us ask questions this morning.
Oh, no,
Have a
abs-
healthy discussion.
No, absolutely. That's what's
That's
important. It should be. We should
Yeah.
have. Transparency.
I'd like to make a motion, but first I would just like to say that the iron block is a cornerstone to downtown. We can all agree with that. We just need to clean things up. I would like to make a motion that we do the proper funding next month with the ARPA money,
At the approved funding up to the $100,000
up to the
request.
$100,000, okay.
Yeah. So this would be more of a consensus vote. We would do the additional appropriate advertisement for February, and then it would go on your agenda at some point. I'm not sure whether it would have to wait until we technically approve it, or whether you can deal with it based off of this vote.
I have to look into it.
Yeah,
We haven't done it for so long, I forget.
yeah.
Is that gonna be quick?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't really want to hold the project up.
No, we, like I said, we have enough to get started, so.
Okay,
But our biggest thing is that the state wants to see that match, that we have that. So if we can just have a memorandum.
well, maybe even you guys could do a kind of a consensus vote or whatever if we had to wait for the catch-up of the official advertisement and all of that. So I have a motion by Jeff. Did I hear a second?
I'll
A
be
second
happy
by
to
Carol that we would appropriate $100,000 from ARPA funds, the American Recovery Plan funds that the county has left. Any other questions or comments before we move on with the vote? Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, thank you, Shan.
Well, thank you very much, and I
Wanda,
do
thank you for
appreciate
coming.
Josh's comment about healthy discussion. That's what it's supposed
great.
to be about, healthy discussion. Thank you. We'll continue it.
Thank you. Okay, Sharon.
Okay, next up, board appointments for the 2024 cycle. You've got a list. You received it in your packet. Many of you have your names on different areas, and I tried to reach out to you to confirm your willingness to continue to serve, but we got a couple that we need to make appointments to that were formerly positions occupied by Clark. The highlighting didn't show up here, so I want to make sure I don't miss any, or help me make sure I don't miss any. But appointments that the council has, Beth Carter to the Colfax Contractual Library Board, I'm sorry, or is that County Contractual Library Board, the CO, County. Partners in Progress, I did speak with Todd and Mark. They're both willing to continue to serve in those roles. Clinton County Redevelopment Commission, Jim Need and Mark Hodges are the two council appointees. They've both agreed to continue serving. First one up that we do need to make a new appointment on then is Wildcat Solid Waste, which Clark formerly served on. I did reach out to Jeff to see if Jeff was willing to take on that role, and he has agreed to serve on behalf of the council. If anyone else has an interest in doing that, please speak up. We can have a vote between multiple candidates, but typically it comes down to the president asking someone and them agreeing. So Jeff is willing to take that one on.
Congratulations, Jeff, we nominated you president.
At our last meeting.
Yeah. And Clark warned me that could happen.
I'm sorry, we nominated the mayor instead, she wasn't here either.
She wasn't here either. Okay, let's see how that works.
Alcoholic Beverage Board, Myron Cheesem. The BZA, Andy Bailey. Andy has agreed to continue serving in that role. Area Plan then is the big one that Clark served on, and so Jeff has again agreed to step into that, kind of taking on that dual role that Clark held. That's a really important position. PETA BOA, the Property Tax Board of Appeals, Nick Bales is the council representative. And then I guess, Janet, there was one thing that I wanted you to make a correction on, because I think we made a mid-year adjustment last year, and that's on the Sharp Committee, that Carol serves on the Sharp Committee for the council and not Jeff.
Okay.
You could make that change. That's just kind of a correction. I think that's it. Did I miss any?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Anybody want to serve in a role
Not doing anything with,
that's commissioners?
okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Just a minor correction on Andy Bailey, which I don't know, I don't have it in front of me, that's a 4-year term.
I was gonna ask you.
He's up again this year, That's actually an appointment to the Area Plan Commission.
Well, so on our list, I was
And then
gonna
the
ask you,
Plan
Liz.
Commission appoints the citizen members to the BZA.
Okay, because we have a different date on BZA versus the area plan, so I was gonna, they do serve coterminously or
They
they're,
do serve
yeah.
coterminously,
Okay.
but the citizen member is a 4-year term. So that would be Andy Bailey, and it's an appointment to the Plan Commission, and technically, we only have 2 citizen members on the Plan Commission, so the Plan Commission doesn't have a lot of choices, but they appoint which
Okay.
citizen members go to the BZA. But
Okay.
some area plans have more citizen members, so that's why.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. So Janet, if you would, on that BZA term, it says it expires in 23, change that to 24 so that it matches the area plan term. So we do not need to do an appointment for Andy then on the
And then it's an
BZA.
appointment to the APC, not the BZA.
Correct, and he's got until 24 on that one, so
Okay.
we're good. We just had a date error there.
So are Myron and Nick also staying?
Yes,
on there?
yes. So that is the slate of council appointments then for 2024, unless anybody wants to jump in and claim something that they're not currently in. Okay, with that being said, I'd entertain a motion to approve that slate of appointees.
Yes.
Okay, Joe makes that motion to approve the slate as presented. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Todd. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Okay. That leads us to old business, which is additional appropriations. And then a couple of transfers, and then we'll have a few reports, and we'll wrap it up. Bear with me here for a moment. Okay. Beginning with the County General Fund from the Auditor's Office, this is $30,702.28. This is the remaining balance from our county training facility at the EMA location. We had several investments from several funds, investments from several donations that were granted to support that facility. We have a balance, and so we need to reappropriate that balance for use for 2024, any needs that facility has. $30,704.28 is the balance of that fund, and we'll appropriate the entire amount then. Auditor's Office from the general fund, this is one that just slipped through the cracks at budget time. You'll remember that normally the clerk has a clerk's budget, an election board budget, and a registration of voter budget, and somehow we missed the registration of voter budget. And so this puts that entire budget in place.
To clarify, you did miss it, I missed it.
Oh.
It didn't get put in the system.
Oh, okay,
Had 2
okay.
pages
So it was in our book.
You approved
Okay.
it, it just didn't get submitted.
Okay, so it is in the budget approved numbers on the 1782, but that registration of voter budget, $66,399, and you can see the individual line items there in the notes. Sheriff's Department, $25,000 since budget time. Utility rates have increased, so we're bumping that utility line item up to reflect that. If you recall, we had some concern about that even at budget time as to whether we were budgeting enough, so we are going to adjust that up $25,000. So that's the total for County General of $116,601.28. Parkview Home, County Home, the gifts funds, the gifts for residents. We've got several donations, $3,000 from First Baptist Church, $300 from Forest Baptist Church, $100 from Carolyn Regal. I guess that's it. So that's $3,400 for County Home Gifts Fund that we'll appropriate for use for benefits to the residents. Board of Health, we've got a few items here from Fund 1159. $1,000 for to put in for use for advertising for the open positions that we're going to have as we move into a new year with a need to fill some newly created positions. $2,400 for Board of Health member meetings and meals. And I guess that's it for that one, $3,400 from Fund 1159. From the highway department, each year, we apply, and so far we've got a heck of a streak going, getting the maximum amount from the Community Crossings Grant every year, I believe, that we've ever applied. And as a part of that, the county does have to come up with a match. And so one thing we neglected to do at budget time was to budget for the 2024 Community Crossings match. So from the MVH restricted budget, $300,000 would be put in place for the match of that $1 million program. Airport Authority, we've got two different, they're two different funds, so you'll see it come up twice, but it's for the same purpose. This first one is a $500,000 from the Airport General Fund, and then a little bit later, you're gonna see from our Real Estate Proceeds Fund, a $250,000 request. This is totals $750,000, and is for the purchase of a parcel that's been made available to the airport, contiguous with the current airport property, and so it'll give us a really nice ability to expand into the future. It's actually in the long-term plan that's where some additional hangar facilities were scheduled to go in the long-term plan, so we're really excited that this opportunity has come up to the airport. So that we have a purchase agreement for $750,000 to acquire 27 acres, and that's what we're putting this money in place to be able to execute on that purchase agreement. Okay. Surveyor's office, we got a engineering reimbursement, $2,036.69 that we'll put back into the drain maintenance fund. The next one is that airport real estate fund that I just mentioned for $250,000. Okay, travel immunization fund. This is a fund that we typically at the beginning of the year appropriate some money to different line items for use throughout the year. $6,000 for supplies, $3,000 for service contracts, $3,000 for equipment. I guess that totals the $12,000 request from that fund. Put in line for travel immunizations. From the Medicaid immunizations fund, same thing, $2,000 for supplies, $2,000 for immunizations, $2,000 for equipment, for a total of $6,000 from the Medicaid immunization fund. Okay. Probation from the state grant. From a state grant, we need to put in place $42,467.77 to fund a probation officer position. That one shows up in our packet, Janet, but I don't believe shows up in the
List.
Ordinance.
Yeah, you skipped the opioid
Yeah.
grant.
Well, but this is for a
it's-
larger amount than
and
that
it's-
one.
And it's not listed, the 42,000 is not listed.
Looks like we've got a grant fund in here that's not listed on the on the ordinance.
The opioid is next,
I've got the opioid first, yeah.
yeah, but.
Did I miss the opioid?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I did miss that. So no, it's the next one, it's the state grant. Okay, my mistake, I just had it in the wrong order here. Okay, so next up, the opioid grant fund. This is appropriating $31,278.32. This is the part that goes to probation, not the part that comes to the county, the part that goes to probation. This is appropriating it for use. Then the next one, now it all makes sense. The probation state grant fund, appropriating for use that grant, $42,467.77 for a probation officer, $4,258.14 for the FICA, Medicare, and Social Security for that officer, $6,234.14 for the retirement PERF funding for that officer, $11,614.95 for the medical benefits for that position, and then $10,000 for services in support of that position, I presume. Okay. So that's appropriating for use, that state grant money. Any questions on any of those items? Seeing and hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the additional appropriation ordinance. I got Joe with that approval. That's ordinance 2024-02. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Jeff. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. And we have just 3 quick transfers to approve. If I can get to them. I remember when they said we were going to be a paperless society.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Okay, to be approved, Circuit Court, $14,630 from wraparound, the grant funding that we get to the wraparound part-time line item. This is what we need to do for the CASA grant, the county's match for the CASA grant. EMS, $5,000 from group insurance to create a new line item for our mental health EAP, and I believe Stephen's going to speak to that here in a moment in his department head comments. And then I believe lastly, from Health Department, $489 from clinical staff to contractual staff, and this is kind of in that, if you recall, at budget time, we moved some people from contract to employee-based status, but this is to finish up last year when they were still contract, so we had to put some back into that contractual staff to fund that last payroll. And that is the transfer slate. Do I have a motion to approve those transfers?
So moved.
I have a motion by Carol. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, we also received, as we do, the financial and budget status reports. The budget status reports, being only a few days into the year, are essentially going to look like the approved budget at this point. But you'll see the financial report, which also shows the year-end, as of end of December, fund balances for all of our funds. And so that's one you might want to stick away in a file somewhere, since it's a year-end report. But we always like to reflect for the record that we've received those reports from the auditor, that we can show the State Board of Accounts auditors when the time comes. So do I have a motion that we've received and reviewed those reports?
I'll make a motion, they've been received.
Second.
I have a motion by Jeff and a second by Joe. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. That brings us to the reports portion of the meeting. Do we have any council reports? Council members want to share anything that they've been involved with over the last month? Anything? It's kind of a slow time of the year with the holidays, so then that moves us to commissioner reports. Anything from the commissioners?
Good morning.
Morning.
I've already spoken, so, but I'll try and make it brief. Couple things going on with the annex, our building over there. We've finally seen some progress.
Yeah.
We hit some delays that always happen in construction. Worked through those, so roughly just on an estimated time frame, I'm going to say, I'm being told it's between about 4 and 6 weeks behind.
Okay.
So obviously the weather will depend on how things progress here through the winter, but hopefully we're moving forward. They poured some footers last week, so that's the start of the progress. They were, as like many things that started in 2020, we're waiting on parts and product to get here. They had a specialized pump that it's like 10 feet tall that they had to put in one corner for water retention in the basement, and it was being built and continued to not be shipped. So
Okay.
that was some of the delay there. The second item, and I've talked to President Dunn about this a little bit, our county liability insurance has decided to move away from the market, so they're dropping us, not just Clinton County, but they're out of the whole municipal market. So we're in the process of finding a new insurer. It's being somewhat tedious and difficult, just to be transparent about it. That market for 5-10 years ago had 15 to 20 underwriters. That has shrunk down to probably less than 10 today, and some of them have no interest in our business or just any business in general because of the risk associated with it. So we're looking at what's happening is we're not getting as competitive of bids because there's not going to be as many bidders. So I'm just kind of mentally preparing you for that. That's coming. Our insurance expires on February 1st. So we're up against this deadline here over the next 2 or 3 weeks that we'll have to move forward with it. So that's couple things from our desk that are relevant right now that I think you guys need to be aware of.
Jordan, when you know that number, when you guys get to the point that you sign the contract, well, obviously we guess at budget time, and I want to say we added like 10%.
I think 12.
Okay, so that may not be enough if we're talking about a lack of competitive bidding. So if we need to go beyond that, just go ahead and get it submitted for an additional, and we'll get it in line for approval then.
Yep. And so, and the last thing I want to say this, I should have said it when Ryan was here from Co-Alliance, but I was looking up some information. I'm kind of on a heater today, I guess. But now my businesses benefit from Co-Alliance being successful. I want them to be successful. I think the addition of additional dry fertilizer is huge over there. It makes it more competitive for all of us farmers in the area. But when I look, and Co-Alliance had a net income of $80 million last year, I wonder why they need a tax abatement. So just something to consider. It's a little different than when we're talking about helping our local business, Chamber of Commerce, with an elevator for $100,000. And granted, Co-Alliance does a lot in our community, but $80 million of net income is a pretty good year for 2022.
I'll address that one because back in December, before Clark went off the council, Clark and Jeff and I, as the budget committee, did meet, and Shan, the initial outreach and ask was made to Shan. He forwarded it to me. We called the budget committee meeting. We talked about it at length, Jordan, just exactly what you're talking about. And at the end of the day, we decided that we wanted to show that sign of support and a partnership, that anybody that wants to do business in Clinton County, that we're willing to partner with them. And there was some frank discussion between us and Co-Alliance as well. And that part of the reason I wanted to ask about the philanthropic contributions that they did was that I made it clear to them, and they understand, and I think they're going to work with us, that a lot of the philanthropy that they do is targeted to a specific industry, and that if it's the entire community that partners with them in the form of an abatement, and that we needed to see some additional philanthropy or buyback or partnership with the community at large. And so I think we'll see that. I hope that we'll see that. Well, I guess it was a good faith effort on our part to start the process by offering that. It's, in the grand scheme of things, that's a very small abatement, but it was an attempt to be symbolic, and I hope that they would respond back. So we did think about that. That wasn't a decision made lightly.
I assumed you had. I just wanted to bring that up. And I know, the one thing we struggle with, and you guys are a part of this, is funding stuff at the fairgrounds.
Mm-hmm. And I did
there seems
specifically
like a
bring that
direct
up.
correlation between our agribusiness partner and opportunities around the 4-H fair. And I'll just be honest, $17,000 doesn't sound like it's enough money.
Well, one of the things that he made a comment to me, and I know that Commissioner Ewitz was able to speak to Ryan as well about it, is that we've never asked. And so I took that as an invitation to ask, and the ask will come. So
Be more than glad to write a letter.
So I think when it's all said and done, Jordan, that we're going to come out in really good
Okay.
shape. I really believe that.
Yeah.
So, but a great point. We had thought that too.
Okay. I figured you might. I just didn't know if everybody else, they're not involved in agriculture like we are, so wanted to point that out with them. So that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for the commissioners? Okay,
Okay,
thank you. Department heads. We got a few today. Liz.
Hey, couple things. One, welcome, Mary. A little strange to see you here. Kirkland's one of our participating communities and bosses for area plan. So for years, we've seen Mary over there and does a great job. So looking forward to working with you here. I am going to try, hopefully by February, to have kind of a status on the permitting side report for, we always take that to our 5 legislative bodies that we serve, but we also bring it to county council just so you kind of get a big picture of how much economic value has been added, and we will include the city of Frankfort in those reports as well, so you can get that broad picture of the community. The other item is, I'm going to apologize because perhaps the fault is mine that I wasn't listening closely enough, but when you made appointments, I did not hear which council member took Clark's spot.
Jeff.
Perfect. All right. I was sure it was in there, so
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
take complete fault there.
Okay.
So I think that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thanks for the vote.
Does that mean we can call you Little Clark?
Okay. Stephen.
Good Morning.
Good morning.
I saw your Michigan mug. I'm sure you're a happy man
Well, I'm
today.
glad that you spotted that.
Yeah. My wife went to Ohio State. I just want to report a few things. One, for 2023, we ended up generating 1.294 million in revenue. That's the most that we've generated. I told Alan my goal was 1.4. Obviously, I fell shy, but we're going to regroup and recalibrate and figure out how to do it for 24. So, for the mental health EAP, I spoke with Jeff, Alan, Carol about this, Bert, Josh, and Jordan about this. We just had another meeting about it this morning with Rich and Renee, and we're working towards creating a policy as just another supportive measure for first responders and mental health. So that's what that's for.
Would you mind, just for the benefit of anybody watching online, and we do have new members, just telling what an EAP is?
Employee assistance program. This one is specific for mental health. And so depression, suicidal ideation, or sleep disorders, substance abuse disorders, stuff like that. Just supportive measures for employees. And as the county is our employer, it's with your guys' assistance, we can offer additional assistance to our employees.
And in this case, it was for our public safety folks who are much more likely to come in contact with a traumatic situation. And so there's been discussions in place about whether we can give some extra assistance there, so.
We're working towards creating a policy. Once I have more information, I'll give a more in-depth report with maybe the assistance of Rich and Renee and Jordan, if he wants to speak to it as well. So,
Okay, great.
our paramedic program started last night, first
Awesome.
class. So
Nice,
we
nice.
have 8 students. That'll definitely generate some revenue. If you remember, we've got the grant, so we'll be eligible if all students graduate and pass their exam. Then that would be $80,000 in reimbursement from the state just for the paramedic program alone. So we're fully staffed, and that's all I have right now.
Okay.
All right, good.
How far are the students driving from? Are they local right now, or?
We have one that's from Clinton County. Or no, I take that back. We have 2 from Clinton County. And then we have some from Indianapolis. We actually have one from Jasper County.
Wow.
I mean, that's an hour-and-a-half drive, I think, for him. So
Great.
very dedicated, and yeah, we're excited. It's a smaller group. We were targeting 10, but it's our first rodeo with it. So we're excited to have one student. So
Congratulations.
Awesome.
Thank you.
is there anything anyone has for me? No? Okay.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Renee.
I welcomed Mary earlier, looking forward to working with her as well, and I've invited her down at some point if she wants to come join us down there and see what Central Dispatch is about. I look forward to the February meeting. I always give you a year-end report. I've kind of we're busy already, as everybody is in January, so some exciting. I have filled the assistant director's position. He is not here today. He's coming in later as we have meetings later. Chris Guajardo has joined us back. He served as dispatch and shift supervisor for 7 years with us.
Okay,
He
good.
left 4 years ago for a different career path, but he has joined us back. I'm very excited
Slide
to have
right
him.
in there.
I'm so excited. He's going to be a vital piece of helping. We have a lot of exciting things coming in 2024, and I'm looking forward to having Chris back on our staff. And he will be in the evening position, building those bridges between day shift and night shift, and being that position of me in the evening time and that extra resource in the evenings with our night shifters as well. So I'm very excited to have him as we're moving forward. I'm going to be working on, as required by the statewide 911 board, I have to submit financials, a year-end report of our financials, a specific report to them, as well as a PSAP report, and that's due January 31st. So I'm going to be working on that. But we have a lot of things going on. But in the February meeting, I hope for the commissioners to do the year-end report, and then you as well.
Okay.
And like I said, a lot of exciting things coming in 2024 for us. So we're excited about that. So,
Great.
all right. You have anything?
Renee, can
Yes.
you repeat Chris's last name?
Guajardo. Yes.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Renee.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for that.
Sheriff Kelly.
A lot of good things, a lot of great things. Year-end report, or the second half of the semi-annual report for commissary. I'll present that to you, President Dunn. This is the 10th report by the office.
Are you going to be able to get me a?
Yes,
a-
electronic version.
Yep, okay,
I
great.
will send it to all of the.
Please do,
council
yes, thank you.
We have a leaky roof today, just to let everyone know, commissioners. I'm hoping we're still under warranty on the original roof, so we'll get with you. But we've got buckets in probably 5, 6 different locations catching right now. So hopefully that'll be the case. Tomorrow we have walk-in cooler repairs, things like that, everything that we've talked about in the money that was left to get those projects done. Windows, glass, and doors, those are all being replaced at this time. So without further ado, I'm going to let Matron Kelly give you some information that'll make it easy for you. And if you got questions, please ask them.
Sticking with the collegiate theme since football's over, Boiler Up for my alma mater. They're still number 1, I think. Just year-end review, our federal inmate revenue came in at $1,267,346. When we started commissary, the 2018 commissary receipts was $222,173. With today's semi-annual report, our 2023 commissary receipts were $715,585. So we've increased the revenue coming into the commissary fund pretty significantly. January every year, I always present to you the medical savings from the rebilling. If you recall, the Indiana statute allows us to rebill inmate medical for the Medicare reimbursement rate plus 4%. So our totals for invoices for medical billing was $512,296.55 after rebilling. We saved $493,889.60. That's a 96.14% savings.
Does that get rebated,
Yeah,
or
what
is it a reduction in?
Yeah,
the
so what
charge?
happens is we are not private pay. So statutorily, we are Medicare plus 4% reimbursement. So when we receive a medical bill, we ship that back to our medical provider, and they have medical billers that will contact them and say, this is the reduced rate for a correctional facility per Indiana law. And then any remaining, so we try to do our off-site capped to organize that where the amounts coming back to us that we are responsible for out of pocket is going to be like our level 6 or our parole offenders that we then submit through the office for DOC reimbursement from the state.
Okay.
Big number.
Great.
Nice.
That's all I have for you today, unless you have any
Okay.
questions.
Very good, thank you.
Sheriff Kelly?
I do have a couple things that moving into the new year, things and getting everything set and ready to go. We do have some projects, and I'm going to bring some. I forget the fancy name for it, but it's basically service contracts, and I will get that to the commissioners. I've got a pile of them from the end of November and December from a lot of the new things that have been installed into the facility, so that we can, and that's going to leave it on your guys' shoulders to make the best guess on that, because it's, X amount of money for 2 years worth of services, things like that, and I'm going to put that to the commissioners, let them make the call on some of those things, and it's part of our HVAC and the upgrade to some of the other things that are in the future we're going to have to do, and I've talked to Jordan about it in regards to, with the commissioners, in regards to our computer system that controls the HVAC. We've been on an upgrade system since the last sheriff, and I think we just need to cash that out and put a new system in, because we foresee some issues with that old computer. The computer is actually from 1994, and it's one of the original Apples, and we can't operate on that, because if it goes out today, there is no one and no how to replace that, and none of the it's just it's that old.
Did we, I thought we had
We did.
attempted to tackle that before.
And but they've tackled the portions like in the system beyond that computer. The computer's been left alone.
Okay.
And they've addressed the software at the equipment, not the software with the computer controlled by the computer. So it's way beyond me. I will honestly admit that I am that 1994 computer when it comes to computers. And so those are the things that we have to look forward to in 24 here, is that there's still some things that are going to have to be addressed inside, and there's some control panel issues. And, just like anything, we'll address it, we'll tackle it. So, with the additional revenues that I think we're in a safe place to start some of those projects. And we'll sit down and have conversation with the commissioners and with you throughout the year.
Okay.
So look forward to a great year.
All right.
So,
Thank you, Sheriff.
And welcome,
Thank you.
ma'am, to the council, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got sidetracked with my Purdue comment. It's Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, so thank you to all of our law enforcement that serves our community.
Absolutely.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Here, here.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, I know we got a couple others in the room. Rodney, anything? Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome,
morning.
Mary, to the 7. So I just had a few items. First of all, wanted to report that the auditor's office told us we had received fully funded for the Health First Indiana money already in our coffers for this year. So those of us who were worried about that, it's all been paid already and ready to fund that budget.
Right.
Also, the 2 state grants that we forwent in opting in, I will have final reports for the council, as we always do, probably here in February, once I get all the numbers, and the state does a little transferring of some money that we had at the tail end of the year. So I just finished up the January report for the board, which is upcoming this month. Fee-based revenues were at probably the highest, I think, that we've had, just due to the activity, and I think a lot of it was septics and food, new food establishments, but we were about $83,000 of fee-based revenue came in this year, which is at the top end of what we normally get. So we had a good year once again coming out of the pandemic scenario. So, and I believe I've submitted to the auditor's office, ironically, a request to move rainy day funds, money to rainy day for about $83,000. So, which I think will come up in February's meeting. So, just to make you folks aware of that as well.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, sir.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Rick, anything from Highway? That may about do it then, I think.
Just wanted the council to know that the CCMG matching grant for 2024, we've already turned in our application to this stage, so
Okay.
we're ahead of that. You got till January 31. So, and I wanted to thank the council. I thanked the commissioners last week for the 2 new loaders, and the 6 new trucks have been built. They're sitting on a lot somewhere. They go to Stoops to be looked over, and then they go to Clark's to get the beds and snowplow hitches put on them. So, thank you. Thank you for the trucks and the loaders.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. All right, anybody else have any business to come before the council? Seeing and hearing none, we'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
No signatures.
More signatures.
What about reading minutes?
You did get in our packet a letter from Rodney asking for that transfer. Just a copy of the letter came in our
So,
packet.
I didn't say anything on purpose because
It hadn't been advertised.
Well, when you said, I was kind of wondering that too.
have a rainy day
Yeah,
fund.
for sure, yeah.
And so we